One last thing, Sam, can you create me one Vue.js 3 button that when you click is making the API call that I tell you?
Certainly. Here's a simple Vue.js 3 component for a button that makes an API call when clicked.
Well, that's great. Can you save this to my repository?
Yes, sure, I can do this for you. The file has been saved to your repository.
Hey guys, in this video I will show you how you can connect your GPT's assistant that you create for coding to your GitHub account, so you can get the code that you create with your assistant and you can push directly to your repository. So stay tuned. Now, before that we start to prepare our coding assistant and before that we make our coding assistant communicate with the GitHub, we have to understand one part here. Between the coding assistant and the GitHub, we need a connection. In this case, you can use the automatization tools like Zapier. But in our case, we're not going to use Zapier because Zapier you have to pay every month. I think there is something around 15 euro in this case. I'm not very sure what's the price here. Feel free to use Zapier if you are already familiar with the Zapier. What are we going to use is going to be a NAN, okay? In this case, is going to be a NAN, which I have hosted in my private server. Why I make this decision? Because the NAN is an open source automatization tool, and you can upload and you can make it work in your private server. So it means that it's going to serve only your private needs and nothing more. And in this case, I'm using a DigitalOcean and I pay only $4 or $5 a month, which is different than a $20 that we have to pay for Zapier, right? So feel free to use any of these automatization tools because I think there's going to be the very similar process, okay? But in this case, I'm going to make this with a NAN. Let me know down in the comment if you want me to create just tutorial how to upload NAN instant in your server. It's not something very complicated, but there is a few steps that you need to do in order to make sure that that's work correctly. Okay, in this case I leave my NAN without nothing create for the moment. We don't have a workflow, we don't have a credential. Well, we have a credential here, but let's go to delete it. Delete the credential, so like this I can show you from scratch. Okay, so imagine that you start from scratch, you start from nothing from here. Okay, now I have another window here open. Let me explain you what is exactly this. I'm just using a Swagger online editor, okay, just to show you and just to see the visual representation of what we are going to create. And this is the format that we are very interested in. What's that mean is that the OpenAPI, it's a standard for representing documentation of the APIs. Okay, so in this case, we have to pass this standard, we have to pass this document of our assistant once when we create the action. Okay, so our assistant knows what's happening, where to go, and what he have to do from there. Okay. I'm going to put this document, the example of this document down in the description, so don't worry for this, you don't need to copy from here nothing, because as you can see that the document is quite large, and here I have probably the most of the CRUD method, I'm not very sure, but I just briefly explain you what we are looking here and what's the important part. Again, we are trying to make our assistant that he can create files, he can delete files, he can get files from there, means that get the content of the file from a specific GitHub repository, okay? And, you know, we need actions that are going to be useful for us if we want to make sure that we have a coding buddy and he is quite useful and can communicate with GitHub directly, okay? And it's not leaving the code in ChatGPT. We can put in our repository directly, and then you see that it's amazing how this works, right? So let's start from here. That's the important part here. That's going to be our webhook URL. Means that in our case, The server, it's that one here, okay. As you can see, we can copy it and we can put directly here. So that's the main server that our GPTs, our assistant is going to call, right? From here, then that's the sub path that it's going to call depending of the action that we have to execute, okay? But let's go to start from scratch, and when we continue with the tutorial, you see what's everything here means, and it's going to make you more sense then, okay? So let's go to first create the first workflow, and we are going to create a workflow for any of the actions that we want to do. So first of all, we start with the action which is create file, okay? Means that once when you ask our assistant, our GPT assistant to make or create file, okay, he is going to use this action. So let's go to create this workflow here. By the way, I made a repository here just for the example, okay? And as you can see that we have only the README here, okay? So for the moment, we don't have nothing here. Let's start from here. Starting from scratch, and when you press the plus button here, you can search for a webhook. Normally the webhook, because it's quite useful and something that most of the cases you're going to need it, it's just here. But if you don't find it here, you can just type web and you have the webhook here. This one is the setting of the webhook, and as you can see, the webhook is going to be the first step. The second step is going to be connecting to the GitHub, right? So in this case, let me explain what's happening here. That's the URL that we have. As I can say, NAN, and then it's the name of my server, and here's a webhook test. What I mean test is that if you go in the production, that's going to be the production URL, right? So once when you test everything with your assistant, I suggest you that you leave the production URL. Why? Because the testing URL is only when we press here and we can listen for events and we can make some changes, and as the name suggests, it's just for test, right? Once when this one is done, we're going to press activate of the workflow, and you're going to use the production. Means they're always going to be live and up for you, so you can work with your assistant and never think about that you have to come back and start something from here manually. Okay, but for the moment, we are just going to use the test URL because we don't want nothing in production for the moment. We just want to see how it's going to work with our GPT and if we are going to be able to make this, right? So the method here is going to be get, obviously, and then this one, it's going to be the first part that we are going to use for creating file in this case, okay? So as you can see in the path here, which is a number, we can put just create file, okay? So in this case, as you can see that we have a new URL, and the new URL it's webhook test create file, okay? Another thing that we have to do is that the authentication, and here's the important part. Why? Because you're going to need a token to connect to your GitHub, okay? Because the GitHub have the REST API, but connecting to the REST API, you're obviously going to need the token, okay? Once when we get to this part, I show you how to get the token, okay? But what's happening here? The token we're going to inject in our NAN instant, okay? But something that we don't want is that everyone who have a link here, everyone who have access to this URL can make some changes in our GitHub repository, and you can understand that that's not the best case. Actually, I can show you, for example, if we put here to listen, okay, and we go in the URL, and we put the URL, right? If you come here, you see that we get the information. We get the information from where it's make the call, okay? Here we don't have a params. It's something that we're going to put after that. But I just show you that everyone can call it and everyone can make some changes here. So we don't want that. What we can do for this case is that we are, we obviously need to put some authentication. In this case, we go very simple and we're going to put the header authentication, okay? And here is saying that we should create the header authentication. In this case, the NAN have an instance for the credential. You can create a new credential there with the token. Now, how are we going to do this? Let's go to press and say create if you don't have, because normally imagine that I have more credentials here. Okay, once when I select a credential, it's going to give me a list with the credential. But as I said, we have a new instance, so we don't have a list of these. So we're going to create one. Now, this part here is very important. In the name we go, because that's the header authentication, as you can see here, right? In the name, we have to put the key, and this one is going to be the value. What I mean by the key and the value. So if we go in our documentation, just to show you what's happening here, this is the key that we're going to send, okay? So means that our assistant is going to send this key with the correct token, right? The token that we just going to create now in a second, okay? So make sure that you copy this key. You can name this key whatever you like. Means that, again, I'm going to provide you with this documentation, and you can adapt absolutely everything in your needs, right? So if your need are not X out GitHub, because I just put this name here, but this name can be everything, okay? You can change it, okay? But in our case, we're going to use the X out GitHub, right? So when you go in the authentication, you say that the name, like I said, the key here is going to be a X out GitHub, right? And then you need a token. Because I don't have a token, what you can do is that if you're in Linux or you're in Mac, you can use the UUID gen, right? And that's going to generate you a token. So you just copy this token and put here in the value, right? So we save this, and now we can close it. Now our instance is going to use a header authentication, and we have this token already saved. Okay, so as you can see, no, we don't want to save this, and now we are listening, and let's go to try again. There we go, we try again, and you see, yes, because we don't have the authentication, right? After that, I'm going to show you in Postman what's the final result that we want from our webhook. But for the moment, let's go to leave it just like this, okay? And let's stop listening here. Now let's go from the last option that we have here. That's the respond. Means that once when we hit our webhook, when we want the response is happening, means that we want the response just in the beginning, or we want the response in the end. Obviously, we want the response in the end because we want to take the information from the GitHub or make the action with the GitHub and then get the response from here. Okay, so the last note means that when the last note is finished, you are going to give us the response. Okay, so let's go to say when the last one is finished. Okay, now if you want, we can start with the testing just the webhook. Once when we test the webhook, then we proceed to put the GitHub node here and connect for our webhook. Okay, how are we going to test this? Let's go to copy first the URL, and then we go in our Postman, and in the Postman we are going to say that we want to go on this URL, which is a create file, a webhook test create file. Okay, and let's go to pass the params. First of all, let's go to create the header. In the header, we are saying that we're going to use the out GitHub. Okay, so we put the out GitHub, and then here in the value we are putting our token, right? Let's go to put in the value the token. There we go. So let's go to say that in the params what we need to make some changes. Okay, so in this case, let's go to see create file. For the create file, we have the params here, and the first one is going to be a first name, a file name. Okay, well, obviously we need to give a file name of our file. Okay, so let's go and say the index.html in this case. Index.html. Okay, What we have here, we have that's the file name. Like you see that the params here start with the file name, then the query means that it's going to send like a query param, then the description. Now, something very important here to keep in your mind. Description is very important in this case, and it's not very important because we get good documentation. It's important because our ChatGPT is going to read this description to get a little bit idea how all these documentations work. Okay, so make sure that you are very describe. Well, you put very good description here. Okay, so the other one we have the repo name. Okay, the repo name is which repository we are going to go, right? So in this case, we have the repo name, and the name of the repo it's it's a GPT repo. There we go. So we put GPT repo. Okay, then let's go to see what we have here. We have the content. We have the content here. Okay, and the content, let's go to see, there's going to be a h1 with hola, and then we close our h1, right? Just the content of the file. So imagine that here we want to make, we want to create in our repo index HTML, the name of the repo is the GPT repo, and then that's the content that we want to put, right? Then what we have more, we have the commit message, right? Because once when you add the GitHub node, you see it's commit message there, obviously, because we're going to change something, so we need to make the commit message. And the commit message here, it's going to be a test commit, right? What more? I think that with this we are good to go, right? With this we are good to go. So what we can do now is that we go in our NAN and we start listening. Start listening from here, and let's go to try it. Okay, everything looks perfect, and here we have response. Means that now with the authentication we can connect because we passed the token. Okay, and here it's coming the beautiful part. We have the file name, that's the file name, we have the repo, and we have the content, and we have the, a commit message. Okay, once when we know that we can receive everything, okay, let's go to proceed and create our GitHub node. In this case, we say that it's going to be a create file, right? So here we have many things. Okay, this one in the left is what it's coming from your webhook flow. Okay, so already we have the information here, which is amazing, and you see where we're going to use this information, right? So this one is going to be a create new yeah, exactly. Now we are going to need the token. Okay, so let's go to see it's going to be the access token from here, from the GitHub user. In this case, in my case, it's well, I think there's going to be my company name. So let's go to see the oops, sorry, this one I can close it, and probably it's going to be AKR. Probably. We try if it's this or it's the group name, but we try. If we have an error, we can fix it, right? And then the access token. Let's go to find our access token from here. You can go in your icon from here. Then we are going in settings. There we go, setting. Once when you go in setting, we are looking for developer settings, right? And here you can see that that's the personal access token, and then the token which is a classic here, right? So we are going to generate a new token, and this one is a NAN, and we're going to call it NAN just to know that it's that one. And in our case, it's going to be just for 7 days, right? Just to test the test, but don't worry because I'm going to delete this token, right? Now, we need the access. Make sure that you give the access of what we are going to do, or what, permission we want to give the NAN. Okay, a workflow, update GitHub action, no, we don't need it. Read, yeah, well, upload packages, no, we don't want. Download, we don't want. Delete, yes, we want to do this. Admin, we don't want. Phone code drop, no, we don't. Admin publish, okay, this one we don't need it as well. Admin repo, admin gets user, we can get the information from the user, but we don't want to delete the repo as well. Read and discussion we don't need as well. That mean I have to be sure that we don't leave nothing without check that we need it. Okay, for the moment I think that with this we are okay. So it's going to generate the token. Once when you generate, you can copy from here and you can paste it just right here. Okay, so I think that with this we are okay. Let's go to save it. Okay, that's done. So we have the token just here, right? So resources, we want to create a file, and then we want to create a repository owner, right? So here we can put the name of the owner. In this case, it's, well, just a second, just to go in the repo. In this case, I think that is going to be that one. I hope so that is not my company name, but I think that it's going to be the project name, right? Which is a suite dev master. Yeah, we say, let's go to put it here. Now, there we go, we have it. As you can see, that's like dynamically. If you put your username, it's going to look for you in GitHub, and if you exist, just it's going to show you the username here, right? The repo name. Now here, one of the params is the repo name. So what you can do is that you can drag and drop this one in the repo name, right? Then we have a full path of the document, which in this case is going to be a file name, right? Remember that the file name, we have to create it with the full path. If you want to create src and then index, you have to put the src index once when you make the code, okay? Or once when the GPT is going to go, this path, right? Binary file, no, file content, there we go. So you just drop the file content here. Okay, so that's going to be the H1 that we have. Okay, what we are having more, it's a commit message, and commit message, we just drop it here, right? So for the moment, I think that we are having everything correctly. Okay, so let's test it, right? What we can do is that we can test all the workflow. Again, you can test the node, right? From here you can start the node, or like in our case, we're going to test the workflow to see that if we have some error. Okay, so now it's listening for the workflow. What we're going to do is that we're going to call from the Postman we're going to make the same code because we have the token already, and we can just test with just this HTML, right? So let's send it, and it's something wrong happening here, and it's going to be in our repo. Let's go to see the repo name. Okay, so repo name params value is invalid. This is likely because the URL enter is incorrect. Okay, so let's debugging a little bit more and see why it's not getting our repo name. Let's go see. Yeah, by the URL, no, by name. Sorry, that's my mistake. We can select the repo. Well, the name of our repository is going to be by the URL, and we don't want this. We are more happy just with the name. Like in this case, it's a GPT repo, right? So with this, I think that should work. But let's start again. We test it again, and we make the code again. Now seems that it's working. As you can see, there is a green check everywhere. And now the moment of truth, there we go. We have our index, as you can see here, right? So what we do so far is that we make our webhook. Means that this webhook is going to be called from our GPT, and this webhook is going to pass the information of our GitHub node, and the GitHub node is going to connect connect of our repo. Okay, so let's go with the fun part here. Let's go to create our assistant, right? You can create the assistant like pressing here. And again, like I said in the beginning of the video, you need the GPT Plus or GPT Pro, right? Why? Because otherwise you cannot create the GPTs, right? So you need the paying plan, which I think there is like $20 a month, right? And you can create it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to create it, right? So from here we say create. I don't know. We say web developer sum. Let's go to call it sum. Okay. Here you can generate with the DALL-E. We can generate some avatar. Most of the times it's not very good, but anyway, for the moment, just for the sake of this tutorial, we leave whatever it's going to show us. Now it's not showing nothing, but anyway, description. Well, it's going to be coding body. We have a coding body here and instruction. Now, the instruction is something important because the instruction is something that's going to be sent with our request once when we make questions around here. The instruction is sending with our question, so the GPT knows in the response, how to act and what exactly is going to do, right? So for the instruction, I have a list of instruction, and I just copy it and then I explain you. And again, I'm going to provide you with this information. Let's go to put the instruction here and let's make it this bigger. This one is saying that when I am asking for creating files in GitHub, you can execute the action, and that's the name of the action, right? The name of the action is something important that I don't know that I show you, and it's just here. Let's go to say the name of the action have to be in the beginning. There we go. That's the name of the action. Why is important the ID of the name of the action? Because a GPT, it's going to make this. It's going to make like, if you make like, a name of your action, like this one here. If you put this in your chat with the GPT and then give the params from here, it's going to act and it's going to call the action. So remember that, right? Let's go to delete for the moment, and let's go to leave this description, which they make create GitHub. We need the repo name, right? We need the file name, we need the content, and we need the commit message. Okay, so yeah, we leave this instruction for the moment. We say close. Okay, I don't know why it's not generating for us any images. Let's go to try again. Obviously, it's not important part here, but anyway, why not? Well, conversational starters, we don't going to put. This one is the, when you land in your assistant, and here's like a question that you can pinch, and immediately it's going to ask this question on your assistant, but we don't need it. Anyway, this one is not working for the moment, but we don't care, okay? What we care here is the first of all, let's go to put the coding interpreter, which is important. And now here's the important part. We say create new action, right? First of all, the authentication here. And that's important and tricky part. Why is important and tricky? Because sometimes, and it's something that I feel, but sometimes it's feeling like you make it correct, okay, but the GPT is not calling correctly with your credential, right? That's going to be a mess, because if the GPT is not calling correctly with, let's go to say that it's mess up the name of the, of the header, and nothing happening. But the problem is that the problem is not the nothing happening, because we are developers and we can debug and, we can take some information from debugging. The problem is that it's not going to give you any debugging information, so it's a little bit annoying sometimes, but we try to make this in the first time, right? Now, when you say the authentication here, make sure that you put the API key. When you put the API key here, make sure there's going to be in the bear, okay? And here, in the middle, it's going to be the key that we just create, the key that we authenticate our webhook, okay? In this case, okay, just can copy from our terminal, right? And it's just here. I hope so that this one is going to work with the barrier, right? It's not a basic. I hope so. We try, and then if we need, we try to debug and found where is the problem, but cross finger for the moment. Now the API key bear, and you are going to say save it. Okay. Now here, as you can see, is coming our OpenAPI schema, right? And the OpenAPI schema is exactly this here. Let's make sure that everything is correct. Yeah, everything is correct for the moment. So let's copy all this. Let's pass it. Now here, if it's some problem, it's going to tell you there is a problem. It's a red error message. But in our case, which I'm very happy, is no any error, right? And here is going to tell you the methods that we are having, and well, the methods are all get, right? But that's the path that is going to call, right? So let's go to try it. First of all, let's finish with creating our assistant. Okay, so let's go to say create. We not publish it. We only say that it's only for me. Yeah, only for me, and say save. Okay. Okay, let's go to try it now. Let's go and say let's go and say that we need a component, just boilerplate here, boilerplate code for some component, whatever. Okay, perfect. And it's done. Well, oops, so there's done, but yeah. Now let's say, can you save this component into GitHub? And now we are going to provide him with the name. Let's go and say the make file name, I don't know, btn.view. Okay. The repo is the repo was, I think, was a GPT repo. Easy to forget, right? The repo is a GPT repo. The commit search is I don't know. Let's go and say test commit test commit, and then sorry. Well, now we're starting the action, but I think that I need more params. I'm not sure that with this one is going to working, because I think that we are missing something like oh, the content. Well, the content, he know what's the content. Repo name, we say the repo name. I think that should work. Now he is asking you for allow. You can allow always, but for the moment, because it's just testing, we just say allow. And now, oh, right. You know what's happening? Why is giving us an error? Because we don't have our workflow, connecting, testing. So let's go to say the test the workflow, and let's go to try again. Right, let's go and see that now it's going to working. Start the action. Now, something, well, now it's saying that it seems there is error there, but sometimes when you say, well, try again and try again and try again, can show you, can show you that, yeah, fine, everything is good, and I create the file, and it's a lie. So you have to check that the file is there. Let's go and say allow. There we go, now it's calling, and there is a problem. Probably it's going to be, you see that even it's not, if we have some code, we're going to see that it's in red, if it's an error or whatever, and in our case, it's not showing any error. So what I suspect here is that we probably messed up the API key. So what we can do is that we go here, and we're going to edit this. First of all, let's go to try the API. Let's go to say that we want the basic. We want the basic, and then let's go to copy again our token. I hope so that with this is going to work, because like I said, the debugging part is quite tricky here. No, let's go. No, that's my mistake. Sorry, that's my mistake. It's not barrier, it's not basic, it's custom. And in the custom, what you have to put here, as you probably guessed it's yeah, it's the value that we have in our authentication. There we go. Sorry about this rookie mistake, but I prefer that you can see the mistakes. So then you have a better idea what can happening, right? So we have the token here, the API, and then we say save. Now let's go to try again. Let's go and say that update this and view the GPT. Okay, hey Sam, can you create view component view 3 btn, so, right? Sure, it's going to give us the component, blah blah blah. That's fine. Yeah, that's perfect. Which I prefer that the script is set up, but anyway, you can put in your instruction. I'm going to make another video, show you how you can make your assistant more smarter than it's just now, because now we don't have the knowledge, we don't give a knowledge, we don't give nothing, but it's just because we're just testing different purposes here. We're just testing the connection with GitHub. Okay, so now, okay, can you into we say GPT repo is btn.view and commit is test msg. By the way, again, don't forget to do this, because you're in the testing environment, so make sure that we are testing. Okay, so let's go see what is going to happening. Oh, can you save? Yeah, okay, let's start the action. Cross finger that is working now. I think that with the header, with the correct header is going to work. Allow. Oh no, it's error again. There was an issue with the GitHub code, and it's never coming till here. Right, let's see what could be. Collaboration sure. It looks like there was an issue with the account. The webhook need to create file is not registered of active. And show the work from. Okay, right. Let's go to debug a little bit. Let's go to edit and see. Now, here, create file, create GitHub file. That's correct. Any instruction, right? And then when we go here, well, you see that probably you can see the mistake immediately. right? Because like I said, we are in the test environment. Once when you go out of the test environment, yeah, you can put just a webhook here. But now in the moment as a test environment. So I hope so, cross fingers, that this is going to be the lucky one, right? That's the third. So the third always is the lucky one, right? So, yeah. Now let's go again. Okay. We're going to be more sure here that we have the component. Okay, perfect. We have some props here. Probably a good looking button and functional, but anyway, and it's quite big this time. Okay, perfect. Let's go to activate our test environment, and let's go to say, can you save us btn.view in GPT repo and with commit msg test the commit msg, right? Let's go see what's happening now. It's going to code action. It's going to ask us the we are allowed to allow him to make this code, right? Okay. Let's take a little bit more time. Here it's working. That's good. I don't know why. Well, there we go. We say hello here. It's calling our endpoint, and let's look at, yep, this time we have a result. There we go. Right, we go in our repo, and if we are, it's going to say that we are going to, there we go. And that's the code that we have. So what means that now I'm not going, this tutorial is going to get huge if I have to show you how to, you know, how to implement the rest of the endpoint, right? But again, everything is going to be in the description. But the idea here is that you make an assistant, and like I said, in future video, I'm going to show you how you can make this assistant more smart and how you can, you know, put a better instruction, right? The instruction is a system prompt, which is going to be used every time when our assistant is making a calls for the OpenAPI, OpenAI, right? OpenAI API, right? Then you are going to put the knowledge, right? The knowledge is going to be a code base that you are familiar or that you want to use, or you know, a good coding practice, all this stuff, and it's going to get very smart. And once when it gets very smart and you are chatting with him, imagine that it's give you in some moment it's going to give you a usable and you know, a good code. You can say, okay, why you not save this in my repo, or why you not take the structure of my repo, right? And which you can imagine that it's getting quite powerful, because if it's getting the structure and it's getting the content of your file and everything, so yeah, you can go forwards and backwards and you can make quite good stuff around here. So guys, again, thank you so much for watching. Hope so that this one was not so large tutorial, and I hope so that it's helpful for you, and make, you know, let me know in the description that if you want me to make a tutorial how to upload the NAN on your server, okay, and how to make your, you know, your assistant more smart. Thanks a lot, and we see you in the next video. Bye.